One of my colleagues refers to Unitarian Universalism as an honest religion. This phrase resonates with me. It captures an essential aspect of my sense of religion. And yet, the idea of an honest religion is a bit curious. It seems it ought to go without saying that religion, any religion, is honest, or at least strives to be. Honesty and integrity are core values of every religious tradition. And yet, religion falters, and in some dramatic and public ways. Sadly, there are lots of examples, too many of them, I think. We're all familiar with the religious deceptions in this country. Not only did priests sexually abuse congregants, including children, but leaders tried to conceal the sexual misconduct of priests. There are the televangelist scandals in which charismatic evangelical leaders conned people out of money to support their lavish lifestyles rather than using the money to feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Sometimes it seems the United States, and Christianity in particular, are the most notorious in this regard. But there are examples in other religions and in other countries too. In recent years, Thailand has experienced numerous temple scandals. One monk was accused of using $5.4 million in donations to purchase land and jewelry for himself. Another monk laundered money from a bank heist so he could buy and sell Buddha images. Dishonesty like this, combined with violence and other shocking actions done in the name of religion, have generated a slew of contemporary books criticizing religion. Authors like Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens and others have argued that religion causes more harm than good. They characterize religion as dangerous. Sam Harris says it's ruinous and even stupid. And it isn't hard to see why. And in a few weeks, I'm going to talk in more depth about that focus in a sermon about God, religion, and other dangerous ideas. The reality is that there is corruption, scandal, and dishonesty in religion, just as there is in politics, in the workplace, and elsewhere. Religion isn't immune to human failure, or to greed, or to materialism. Religion is guilty of another kind of dishonesty, one that strikes me as incredibly arrogant. And it's the claim to have the truth. You know the truth I'm speaking of? The truth with a capital T. The truth in the singular form. Religious institutions, religious leaders, and religious adherents sometimes claim they know the way. The one way. The only way. John Shelby Spong, who was bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Newark for 24 years before he retired in 2001, had written and has written numerous books challenging the exclusive religious claims. And while bishop, he wrote an essay entitled Religious Dishonesty, Religious Hostility. And I just want to share with you a little bit of what he wrote in that. He said, one of the false assumptions of some religious people is that they are in possession of the fullness of God's truth. This in turn justifies in their minds hostile, dishonest, and sometimes killing behavior patterns that are perpetrated on those who do not accept their limited definitions of God's truth. This is the same mentality, he writes, that burns heretics at the stake, that excommunicates people with new ideas from the life of the church that persecutes Jews and other religious minorities, that starts religious wars, and that in extreme cases justifies murder at abortion clinics. If religious people holding as we do nothing but partial truth act as if our partial truth is ultimate truth and proceed to make imperialistic and exclusive claims for our version of truth, then we become idolatrous. God and God's truth, he says, can only be served as we approach the awesome wonder and mystery of God with genuine humility. If the religious voices of our day could do that, the world would surely be a safer and more loving place in which to live, he concludes. An honest religion acknowledges the partial nature of our human understanding, rather than insisting that it has all the answers and coercing people into rigid, exclusive claims. An honest one encourages people to keep an open mind to new knowledge and to thinking for themselves. And I think that this idea of partial truths is actually relatively easy for us to grasp. But there's another thing about an honest religion, and that has to do with allowing for competing truths. So, how is it possible? How is it possible for a group of people like our congregation, like all of us here today, to agree that there's no God, there's one God, and there are multiple gods? I mean, there can't really be no God and multiple gods, right? I mean, they can't both be true, right? They seem like obviously contradictory positions, and yet here we are, holding these different ideas. How is it that we can affirm the truth of all of these? Someone's got to be wrong, and someone's got to be right, right? Okay, we'll hold that thought. In the book, An Open Source Church, Making Room for the Wisdom of All, Landon Whitsitt explores what it means to live with this tension. He makes an analogy between Wikipedia, the free online encyclopedia, and church community. He imagines what the church might look like if it used Wikipedia's methodology. He says it would be more participatory and more inclusive. When I read this book, I kept thinking, yep, it would look a lot like Unitarian Universalism. Well, Whitsitt, it turns out, is a Presbyterian minister. And it helps us to remember that we don't hold an exclusive claim to being inclusive. Wikipedia's goal is to make the sum of all human knowledge available. Anyone can contribute to it, as long as what they have to offer is established and credible. Now, obviously, some